Hi, everyone. I'm going to band the peregrines today, and I'll give you just a little bit of information about what to expect in case you haven't seen this before. But the first thing is there are 4 chicks in the nest this year, and you'll notice there are only 3 boxes up here with us. That's because we went ahead and banded 1 chick and put it back out on the ledge. And that's just to help the adults be a little bit calmer. I have no doubt they know they have 4 chicks, but they're happy as long as we put 1 back and they've got 1 up there to take care of. So we'll just band the 3 here in front of you today. The other thing I should tell you is that they're all nice and quiet right now. Almost certainly at some point each one of these, either the entire time they're out of the box or for a portion of the time they're out of the box, they'll be calling a lot. It'll be high-pitched and really annoying. Imagine you're a peregrine somewhere and a big scary predator comes to you and you want your parents to know you need help. It makes sense you'd make a lot of noise. So from their perspective, we're incredibly frightening. The other thing is I'm going to put these bands on their legs. They're essentially like bangle bracelets. They'll have 1 on each leg. So I'm not doing anything that's hurting them. They're just not happy that they're being restrained by a person. Otherwise, I'll try to talk you through the process, especially the first bird when we do it. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you have. But I'll probably only be good at answering questions after I'm done banding the birds. All right? Excellent. And we'll take them out 1 at a time and see how it goes. So, all right. You can just, let's see here. Oh, one other thing. You'll notice we're wearing glasses and gloves if we're handling the birds. That's really a human safety precaution. And so I don't mind you taking pictures, but realize that if you take the 1 picture where I had to take my glasses off because I couldn't see something, that's a naughty picture and you shouldn't share that with anyone because we don't want to give people the wrong idea about the proper way to handle these birds. But unfortunately, my eyes aren't quite what they used to be, and so sometimes, like to read a band number, I might need to tweak it.
Ready?
Yes, we're ready. Let's see what we've got here. They don't cooperate because, again, this is scary. This is scary for them. So, yeah, I know. First thing I'm going to do is measure its leg. This is a leg gauge, and it's just making sure that the band I put on is plenty big enough. And we don't want it to touch. See the 6 touches there, so we're going to put 7A on this one as well. You can. We're not. Did you want it when they're banded or when they're not banded?
After they're banded.
Okay. All right, David, so this is going to be dash 47117. 47117 and 55 black over CA green. We do our darndest to put the Fish and Wildlife Service band on their right leg, right side up. Not that we expect anyone to actually read it. You can see from here, it's a pretty difficult band to read, even with you being as close as you are. And you imagine trying to read it like from the ground if they're up on the building. That would be really difficult. Occasionally it gets captured in an image and can be helpful, though. And then the second band the bird's going to get is a much easier band to read from a distance. These bands have a flange on them because peregrines are big enough and strong enough that they could take a regular butt-in band off, which is what we use sort of traditionally for bird banding and for smaller birds or birds that don't mess with their bands. But unfortunately, peregrines aren't one of those. I know. When I put it on, I want to make sure that everything meets up nice and even. We don't want any edges sticking out that might rub a bird's leg in a strange way or scratch them. Because if all goes well, this bird will wear this band its entire life, and if it shows up in Connecticut or Ontario or something, we'll know that it came from the Rachel Carson building. All right. David, would you get me a piece of tape off the back of your, to flip it over there? Anything but blue. We already used blue. So since these Fish and Wildlife Service bands are difficult to read, we cheat a little and put a piece of electrical tape on that band. Because there are 4 chicks here, we'll use all 4 of our colors. And that band will help the volunteers identify the bird if they only get a look at one leg. So that'll be the green chick. All right. Yeah, grab hold. There you go. The second band's a rivet band, so I have to use a different tool to put it on. But it will stay on for the bird's life as well, just and be a little bit easier, as I said, to read. Oh, it came off in one. Give it a quick check here, just looking for any problems. Sean, have you gotten a look in that throat? Is it clear? Okay, I'll get him. Looks pretty good to me, yeah. All right, so throat's good, eyes are good. See the other one. Oh, he's just hiding that ear. We'll say his ears are closed. Feet are good. Keel's good. Crop is empty. His vent's fine. It's good. And we'll just give him a quick look. We're going to check now for any body parasites, especially chicks in nests tend to end up with feather lice or some other body parasite. The chick upstairs looked good though, and this one does as well. I don't see any parasites, so here we go.
I weighed the bag, it's 80.
You weighed it again?
Yeah.
Okay. And head first, please. There you go. It's hard with gloves on.
Uh, 770.
Okay.
770 grams.
All right. Sue, did you get your foot picture?
No, I didn't.
All right. You can do that quickly as we put it back in the box. Sue coordinates all the volunteers here that watch these chicks, and by getting a picture of their bands on their feet, it'll help her. I did not mention raptors clutch subconsciously, so that means it's like us. If you knock us out and throw us in the water, we'll drown. If he's not concentrating on opening his feet, they'll ball up. And
Hey,
so,
little guy, how you doing?
you see those okay?
And yeah, just focus there. There, I got it.
Okay,
That's
good. All right. That was not so bad. All right. Can you just double check, make sure I got everything there, please?
Tail.
Oh, we're not going to measure his tail. Yeah, he's too old to worry about tail. All right. That'll be true for all of them, but all right. So you can see it's not so bad, even though they're not happy about it.
Bag's still at 80.
Excellent. Next victim. Okay. Yeah, you can grab me, that's fine.
That's a big one.
Yes, and that's an even bigger leg. All right. So this would be 56 black over CA green, and then 47118. Okay, that's the right foot. That's 47118. Right side up. Okay, you're gonna have to give me this finger now, little one. Okay. And David, would you give me another color of tape, please? All right, so this will be yellow. And I put it on upside down. Okay. Now you gotta let go. All right.
Throat looks good.
Yep, throat's good, eyes are good, feet are fine. Let me see your ears. Okay, we'll skip ears for now. Keel's good. Bench is good. All right. The crop is empty. All right. body's fine. And I think that's everything but weight. Okay. Oh, I will just repeat. So 56 black over CA green.
Nice one-hand technique.
It's just figuring out what work at the moment. Okay.
$650.
Okay. 650.
650.
Come on. Where's your wing?
I forgot to zoom out. Give me a sec. There we go. Let's see your foot. Yeah, you're a boy. Unofficially, but yeah.
All right. We'll hold up the last chick so you guys can get better pictures of him too. But all right, in you go. All right. Let's see. So then that just this one, I think. It's a boy leg. We'll measure him to be sure, but I'm pretty confident that's a boy leg. You know what? I'm gonna measure him before you even take him out of there.
Yeah.
Since he's, oh, is that what you're gonna do? All right. He says, nope, not gonna happen. Still going to be 7A. All right. So this will be 57 CA. I'm sorry, 57 black over CA green. And it will be 47,119. This way. this will be red. All right, David, just to confirm, this is 57 CA. All right, red, let's see.
No, that's good.
All right, throat, eyes, keel, vent, they all look fine. You're gonna let me see your ears? Yeah, we'll just call them closed. I'm gonna check for bugs. I think that's it after weight.
You can get
Yeah,
that
I
one.
can do this one. I guess that's, it kind of looks like a little dirt, but, you know, we'll err on the side of caution. Thing right here.
Yeah.
So this is flea powder, which is made from chrysanthemums, but it's the same stuff you'd put on your dog or cat. They tell me you can eat it. I wouldn't recommend it because, you know, it's like the kids that are eating cinnamon and stuff. It would be a terrible dryness in your throat. But it's good for body parasites, and that'll just give him a little dusting and help knock those back for him. We will do a quick wait. Oh, crop. Oh, actually. The body, put a B for bugs for the body. The crop's not bulging, but definitely a lot of fullness there. Put maybe a 1. What's that? Feet are fine. All right, quick weigh. Did you weigh the bag in between? I didn't.
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's fine. We can do that. We can work on the fly. Bag looks like it's 90.
$890.
All right. This one gets to pose.
Just showing film.
Yep. This one gets to pose. And actually, Sue, why don't you take your picture quickly while we're getting him out of the bag, because you can go ahead and get that picture, and it won't be the most photogenic, but it'll get what you need.
Tell me what I need to know, yeah. Hello, little one, let's see your feet. Back it up a tiny bit, yep, there's. Yeah, you got girl feet.
Trying to just
Yeah,
push
that's
this in.
exact, thank you. That's exactly what I was working up to. There you go. Definitely not happy with us right now, but doing really well. You see the flight feathers coming in. She's gonna, all right, all right. know, the world's not quite that big for you yet. All right. Good. Is that better? Yeah, you were too little for that? Okay. All right, guys. Everybody got their picture? Okay. Thanks, Sean.
So at this time, if anyone has any questions for Patty and her team as they prepare to take the Iasis back to the nest, we'll open it up for questions.
Ask Sue.
How old are they?
The older three are 28 days today, and the youngest one, which I think is the last one. The oldest three are 28 days today, and the youngest is 26 days. They were hatched on April 30th and May 2nd. And it looked to me like the last one is the youngest one. I'm Sue Hannon. I'm the Falcon Program Coordinator. I've been working with these falcons since 2005. I have seen 2 males and 4 females at this nest, and have been part of 30 rescues and have watched about 75 of our fledglings as they took their first flights and learned how to handle those amazing wings. And it has always been such a special thing for me to be part of this, and any of you volunteers who also participate, I hope that you find it as special as I do, because these birds just touch me. They amaze me. And we were very happy this year to have our 100th chick hatch, which is really special.
Thank you, Sue. Any questions for the team before they return to the nest? Yes.
Tracking them with the bands, how far have they traveled? Do we know the furthest any of the chicks have traveled?
Gosh. So I can't tell you specifically that they came from the Rachel Carson building, but we have had chicks show up in Ontario and Connecticut. One year we put a telemetry unit on a fledgling in Pittsburgh, and that bird actually bounced all over the northeastern states for about a year. Now he died at the end of that year in Pittsburgh, of all places. So if we hadn't had a telemetry unit on him, we might assume he didn't go anywhere. But the name peregrine means wanderer, and all indications are, even if they're birds that stay in the north, you know, if they're not going, say, to Tierra del Fuego, they're still moving around the geographic area a lot, so covering long distances. And we've certainly had breeders show up, like I said, in Connecticut and Ontario and places like that. So.
And I can add that birds from this nest have been identified nesting as far away as Cleveland, Ohio, and Wilmington, Delaware. We've had birds in Maryland, New Jersey, and several nesting here in Pennsylvania, one in Reading, one in Bethlehem. And because of the bands, we know that grandchildren of this nest have nested as far away as Cincinnati. And we currently have a grandchild of this nest nesting on our building right now. And we know of 6 that we know where they ended up and producing young.
Yeah, I should probably, sorry, I didn't say this earlier. The reason we banned, the only reason we actually banned, is to tell individuals apart. And so, you know, sometimes maybe somebody has a little bit of a plumage difference that we, for a short time, can tell them apart. But when they molt, change their feathers, then we might not know who they are any longer. And even that, it takes a lot of time looking at the birds over and over before you start to recognize individuals, where these color bands, you know, anybody can take a picture. You don't have to even be able to identify it as a peregrine falcon, but you get a picture, you pass that on to other people, someone else identifies it as a peregrine, and then there's only one peregrine with this color band. There might be another bird of another species with that same color band, but there's only one peregrine. So, all right.
Any final questions? Okay. Patty, thank you so much. They're going to return them to the nest. And while they are doing that, I'll introduce Hawk Mountain educator Dan Jenkins and senior biologist David Barber to present on the conservation efforts of these falcons.
All right, can everyone hear me okay? Awesome. Thank you so much, and that was, great, Patty, thanks. That was awesome to see. All right, so as introduced, I'm Dan Jenkins, and I am one of the educators at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary in Kempton, Pennsylvania, and I'm with, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself. So we came here to kind of talk about raptors in general to you guys, and then kind of touch on peregrine falcons as a whole here in a little bit. So be about 15 minutes, just a kind of little brief intro. At Hawk Mountain Sanctuary, we kind of cover raptors as a whole and introduce them as meat-eating animals with a sharp-hooked bill, with incredible eyesight, and sharp talons that are used to capture and seize their prey. Maybe you kind of saw a glimpse of that on the peregrines here that Patty had out. But we'll focus on peregrine falcons today because that's what we're here for. So I did kind of print out a couple kind of just shots. I didn't take these pictures, but these are just shots from the internet that you can see of peregrine falcons. So they're kind of a crow-sized raptor. It's kind of smaller than a goose, bigger than a duck, so crow-sized. And when we teach falcons to people, they're kind of a fan favorite. So the peregrine falcon, the American kestrel, and the merlin. When we teach kind of identification on them to people, we always relate kind of speed to them, right? So when you think of falcon, you think of fast, built for speed. And with kids, a lot of the times when we teach it, it's like you're driving down the road with your hand out the window in a car, and if your hand's like this out the window, it's going to bounce back. The wind's going to hit and bounce back. But with a peregrine, or falcons in general, if you turn your hand like this, the wind will cut, or your hand will cut right through the wind. And that's kind of exactly how falcons are built. They're built like a torpedo, and their wings are, I'll kind of call them sharp. They're not sharp. This is a silhouette of an American kestrel. So not of a peregrine, but same family. We don't have a silhouette of a peregrine. So what you kind of note is the long wings. So they're trying to point in so you can hear me. They're broad towards the body. They're kind of wide. And then they get sharp, what we say, towards the tip. Long, skinny tail, too. So everything on a falcon is built for speed. Their body is, their wings are, so they can cut through the air really, really good. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't know this off the top of my head, so in lieu of this program, I did a little research last night. So falcons, peregrine falcon is the fastest animal on planet Earth. 200 miles an hour, roughly, when they're at full stoop, when they're high up and they launch down for their prey. But an average flight, I didn't know. So it's maybe about 60 miles per hour. So even when they're just going from point A to point B, not in a stoop to attack, they're still extremely fast. One of my favorite kind of facts about falcons in general is these adaptations they have on their body to help them be these really awesome animals and these cool apex predators. And we've all been, maybe in our younger days or still, jumping into swimming pools head first, doing cannonballs, and maybe we all can relate to water just shooting up into your head, right? And it's very, very uncomfortable. So we plug our nose, right? It might help from water going up into our nose. Falcons have kind of specialized nostrils that, in the sense of a peregrine falcon, when they are in full stoop, going down, the bones kind of in their nostril breaks up that wind, right? Because if you're free falling at 200 miles an hour, there's going to be a lot of wind going into your head. So again, that bone just kind of breaks up that wind. So a really, really cool adaptation. I mean, they're just built to nest on these high buildings and kind of hunt from up in the air, so aerial predators. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to David Barber, who's our research biologist at Hawk Mountain, and he's going to touch on the conservation, or the life history of peregrine falcons and the conservation success story. Oh, you do? You have a mic. Okay.
So yeah, thank you everybody for coming. It was really cool for me to see peregrines up close because usually I see them flying by the lookout. At Hawk Mountain Sanctuary, we are the oldest continuous hawk migration watch site in the world. We've been counting raptors in the fall since 1934. And one of those birds, one of the 16 species that we count, is the peregrine falcon. Now, peregrine, as Patty mentioned, means wanderer or traveler. So, and that lends itself to these birds are incredibly cosmopolitan. You can find them on 6 different continents, and they make these huge migratory routes each year, spring and fall. So Patty mentioned that the birds in PA don't really wander a whole lot, you know, mid-Atlantic, maybe up into Canada, but there are some falcons that fly from Greenland all the way into Tierra del Fuego, the tip of South America, over 22,000 miles in one migration. One of the largest migratory routes that North American birds have. Now, just to give you an idea about a little bit of the biology, these birds typically or historically nested on cliffs. Now they nest on buildings, on towers, and they don't build a nest. They literally just make a little scrape in the gravel or the sand and lay their eggs in that nest. Now, typically they'll lay 3 to 5 eggs, average is about 4, and they'll incubate for about 34 days. Once the young hatch out of the eggs, then it'll take roughly 40 to 45 days before they leave the nest or they fledge. Now, once they leave the nest, they obviously can't care for themselves, so they end up staying with the parents anywhere between 5 and 10 weeks. Now, if they are lucky enough to survive that first year, which about 50% of nestling peregrine falcons don't make it to that first year, they have a pretty good chance of making it another year. So adults, typically 80% of adults survive from one year to the next. And then they'll start breeding. It's possible to breed at 2 years of age, but typically it's more like 3 to 4 years of age. Now, peregrine falcons are a huge conservation success story. As was mentioned earlier, about the 1900s, it was estimated about 350 peregrine falcon pairs in the eastern US. By 1960, they were extirpated, which means there weren't any on the East Coast any longer. And the reason primarily was due to DDT. It's a pesticide. It's a very effective pesticide. The problem is it doesn't break down. So who can tell me what peregrine falcons eat? Birds, right. So birds will eat insects that have been treated with DDT. So the birds themselves have DDT in them. It doesn't break down. It gets stored in their fat. So peregrine falcons eat birds. So the more birds they eat, the more DDT that's going to be held in their body. And what happens is, I won't get into the nitty-gritty of enzymes and calcium deposition, but it reduces eggshell thinning in the eggs. So what happens is the shells are so thin, when the female tries to incubate the eggs, they crack. So we discovered this, by the 1960s, there were no peregrines left. DDT was banned in 1972, and peregrine falcons were listed as an endangered species in 1973. Now, to try and reintroduce falcons, they formed the Peregrine Fund, and they were responsible for relocating peregrines in the eastern United States, and actually throughout the United States. So over, I don't know how many years, 7,000 peregrines were relocated into the United States. And by 1987 or so, most of that distribution had been refilled. And by 1989, the peregrine falcon was taken off the endangered species list. In 1999, In 2021, it was delisted off the threatened list for Pennsylvania. So a huge success story. We came back from the brink, and now they're kind of filled out their old range. But just because a species has recovered doesn't necessarily mean that we don't need to monitor anymore. At Hawk Mountain Sanctuary, where we're counting peregrine falcons, over the last 10 to 20 years, the numbers that we're counting has been relatively stable. But over the last 4 years, there have been some areas in the US where we've seen declines in numbers we haven't seen since the DDT era. So in the Yukon Flats in Alaska, 48% of the territories are no longer active. In British Columbia and in Washington, where they count wintering peregrine falcons, those numbers have dropped 38% to 47% in the last 5 years. Even on the East Coast, Virginia and New Jersey, where they are historical areas or nest sites, we're starting to see, or they have started to see, sites where there's only one individual, or there are no individuals, or there's an adult female and a young male. You can tell young peregrines because they're streaky. They don't have, they don't look quite like this with that dark barring on the breast. They're very streaky. And peregrine falcons mate for life. So when a new bird shows up at a nest, they know that something happened to that individual. Most likely it died. And another example, Florida Keys Hawk Watch, another migration watch site, they count thousands of peregrine falcons every year as they migrate down the East Coast, pass through the Keys, and into South America. 2020, they counted just under 4,000 peregrine falcons. Last year, they counted just over 2,000. So over the last 10 years, they've seen a decline of about 5 to 6% per year. So what's causing the decline in peregrine falcons? We don't really know. We can say that in the central part of the United States, or more inland sites, peregrine falcons seem to be doing fine. So the coasts are where we're starting to see declines in numbers. And what we really think is happening is HPAI, highly pathogenic avian influenza. So the birds on the coast, their main prey are shorebirds, waterfowl, and those are the species that are really getting hit hard by avian influenza. So if a peregrine falcon eats a bird with AI, chances are that bird is going to die from AI. And they have circumstantial evidence that some of the adults that they've found dead at sites along the East Coast that were tested have been influenced by or have had avian influenza. So while this is an incredible conservation success story coming back from the brink, I do want to stress that just because they recovered does not necessarily mean that we don't need to monitor them anymore. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Oh, sorry.
Longest one peregrine has lived in the wild?
That's a great question. So they typically can live 14 to 16 years in the wild. The longevity record is 19 years and 9 months. So the way we know that is because that was a bird that was banded. And that band was recovered from that bird. So.
The male we just had, the last male that was here, not the one that's here now, he was right at 19 years old. Wow.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah.
He was at this nest for 16 years.
Wow.
He died at 19.
Yes.
What's the typical hatch rate for eggs? Is it a higher percentage? Like if they lay 3 eggs, do all 3 usually hatch?
So the question is, what's the hatching rate for the birds? And typically most, and I'm not the peregrine falcon biologist, my wife is, but they usually hatching rate is fairly high. Yeah. Yes.
Is it possible that with the numbers still seeming to be good for populations, and I'm not debunking that avian flu doesn't affect them, is it possible that they're not migrating? We were talking about how some of the ones here on the coast like to stay. in
Right.
Northeast. Is it possible that maybe because they are finding nest sites on structures
Right.
and bridges versus they don't need to migrate, they're comfortable, they can find enough food source to remain in the urban areas and not migrate 22,000 miles?
Yes, so it's certainly possible that birds aren't migrating at all or migrating as far as they used to, what we call short stopping. So, but I would say that one, the birds that are making these long distance migrations aren't necessarily in areas where there are structures. And certainly we do see, peregrine falcons are certainly capable of overwintering in areas as long as there's a stable food source. But I wouldn't expect that large of a decline that quickly. Yeah, and so unfortunately there isn't very good evidence, but all the timing seems to be right. We had an avian influenza outbreak in 2022, and that's really when things started going downhill, particularly in the West.
I just know we can see our falcons whenever we want.
Right, yeah, no, and,
We are
yeah,
very
and
blessed.
and there's certainly some that are here year-round,
You can
which
open
is,
the camera and one of them is eating on the corner or sitting on the box,
yeah.
always.
Any other questions? Thank you,
Well,
gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
It has been our pleasure sharing this rare opportunity with you today, but the fun doesn't end with banding. Please consider joining the team of Falcon Watch and Rescue volunteers that monitor and assist the fledglings as they learn to take flight. To learn more, contact HGB Falcon Watch at HBG, B as in boy, G, falconwatch@gmail.com. Training is free and scheduling is flexible.